She's literally playing into his traps. What kind of father goes on TV and brags about how he's— Thank God this season of The Valley is over, because I'm about to talk about Jax Taylor making some great points in this episode, and I don't want to live in a world where Jax Taylor is making some good points. So this needs to end as quickly as possible. But first, we have some other stuff to talk about. This is The Valley Season 2, Episode 15, the finale. So the girls go to Lala's house. She's holding her newborn daughter, and she's so cute. I don't know what it is about Bravo, but the babies of Bravo are so cute. I feel like every single recap I open with talking about how cute one of the babies is. Janet asks Michelle if this makes her want another kid, and Michelle says yes because Aaron really wants one. And that's really crazy to hear now, considering all of the rumors that they broke up. Actually, I'm not even sure if it's been officially confirmed, but there have definitely been some strong rumors that they've broken up. I think they've both unfollowed each other off of Instagram, and I think she took down a lot of her posts with him. So that's gonna be interesting to see play out on the reunion. But yeah, that was really crazy to watch considering that. Brittany tells the girls about the fight she had with Jax yesterday, where he was telling her he'll get alimony from her and he won't pay for any of Cruz's medical bills.
I was like, I'm going to expect you to start paying for half of Cruz's doctor bills and stuff like that. He freaked out about that and said, well, I'm going after alimony and I'll win because you make more money than me, blah, blah, blah.
Well, yeah,
Sure.
you make more money because a cocaine addiction is expensive. So I suggest you give it up. It's a luxury you cannot afford anymore.
What kind of father goes on TV and brags about how he's not gonna pay for his son's medical bills? Like, he is so happy at the thought of not having to pay Cruz's medical bills. Cruz, his like challenged son, like Cruz is struggling with autism, and Jax is like taking joy in the fact that he won't pay any of his medical bills. I mean, this man is like trash. That is so disgusting. And he thinks we're gonna see that and all be on his side. Like, give me a break. And then Brittany says that Cruz won't be going to Jax's house until the divorce is finalized and the court forces him to get drug tested, which is so good. I mean, I've been saying this over and over, like, Jax is scary. He seriously is so scary. Like, if I were Brittany, I would be afraid to be alone in a room with him, let alone to like leave my child with him. So I'm 100% on her side with that. Then Janet tells Lala about everything Kristen said to her on the boat in Hawaii. And she says she would have loved for Kristen to hit her so she'd end up in jail for the night. And then she says she hopes every time Kristen looks at her ring, she sees a reflection of her. Janet, here's the thing. It's like, sometimes I root for Janet. Sometimes I really do, because I do think, like, as much as the internet really, really hates her, I think sometimes she makes some good points. But then she says stuff like this, and I'm just like, Janet, like, she can be so self-centered and so egotistical. Like, she really thinks at times that, like, everybody is paying attention to her. Everybody wants to know her next move. Everybody is constantly thinking about her. It's like when she said in Hawaii, like, oh, I hope my absence was a gift. Like, I hope they weren't thinking about me too much. Like, girl, Kristen just got engaged. She wasn't even thinking about you at all. I don't even think she noticed that you were there. Luke and Jason go to Jax's condo. It is literally so tall and narrow. I think on the Sexy Unique podcast, Laura and Carrie said that it looks like a lighthouse. It literally does. It is so tall. It's like 3 floors and it's so thin. I feel like you can't even stretch your arms like out like this, or you're gonna hit a wall on both sides. It just has really awful vibes. It's giving very much like Divorced Dad. When you walk in, just the way the furniture is looking, the decor, just the whole situation, the fact that it has the 3 floors, it's very much giving Divorced. And then he shows them Cruz's room as they're climbing their 500 stairs all the way to the rooftop. And he goes, oh, this is Cruz's room when his mom will let me have him. Just cannot give up an opportunity to get a dig in. He is so pathetic and so lame. Like, this is Cruz's room when the courts will let you have him. How about that? And then he takes them to the rooftop and he opens a mini fridge full of beer, and Schwartz shows up on the balcony next door holding his own little cooler or handle or whatever. One day, they're gonna get super drunk and they're gonna try to climb from one rooftop to another. I know they're gonna do it. Because the distance, at least on camera, it really doesn't look like it's that far. It looks like it's a few feet at most. And I just know one day they're gonna get drunk and they're gonna try something stupid. I hope, listen, I'm not a monster. I hope they don't try that. But I saw that and I had that so Raven vision. I was like, oh, there's going to be like a horrible situation unfolding here once they have like their 13th beer. So then Jesse is also there, and Jax tells the guys that he thinks Brittany is breadcrumbing him because she keeps contacting him to ask about house stuff. And I was watching this and I was like, Jax, Brittany isn't breadcrumbing you. She's contacting you to ask you about house logistics because you own a home with her. Like, I know you think that just because you're getting divorced and she doesn't love you anymore, that relinquishes you of all your responsibilities that you had in your marriage, but that's not how marriage works. Like, until this thing is legally dissolved, you have some responsibilities for to each other, and the house is one of them, even though you haven't paid the bills since May. I will say, I've said this before, Brittany and Jax need a mediator. They cannot keep speaking directly to each other because you can see, like, anything Brittany says to Jax or does around him, he's gonna try to use that against her. Like, if I was her, I would hire a mediator and I would tell Jax, like, here's their contact information. If you want to say something to me, tell it to them first. Like, I don't like that Brittany keeps reaching out to him about stuff that's unrelated to Cruz, because I feel like every time she does that, she's giving him an opportunity to suck her back in. And she literally said in Hawaii to, I think, Kristen or Zach, that like he has this tendency to suck her back in. So I really think she needs to stop reaching out to him about anything. Then Luke tells Jax that Brittany is more worried about his lifestyle and he needs to make sure he doesn't bring random women around. And then Jax goes, oh, I would never bring a random woman around here, and I expect her to do the same. So many things about that. First of all, since when is that in the divorce agreement? You don't get to, like, she just served you papers and now all of a sudden you think you can tell her, like, who she's allowed to have in her house. And then also, second of all, you have literally been caught on camera bringing random women into your marital home where Cruz sleeps. Like, random women. Brittany has literally found, like, used condoms and another girl's underwear. And you're trying to tell Jesse or Luke or whoever, oh, I would never bring a random woman into my house. You literally did. I don't know what you're talking about. You literally did, though. That's the thing about Jax, is that he thinks we all have short-term memory loss. Like, he thinks that he can just do whatever he wants, and then by the time the credits roll and the next episode airs, we're gonna forget all about it. Or he thinks that he is so convincing. Like, he thinks that he's so charismatic and so convincing that we can see something he does with our own eyes, and he can just be like, oh, no, that's not true. I didn't do that. And then we'll just be like, oh, well, Jax said he didn't do it, so that means he didn't do it. And then Jesse asks where Danny is, and Jax goes, who? And I'm not gonna lie, I laughed. I'm sorry, that was funny. I did laugh because it genuinely looked like on his face that he did forget who Danny was, and I don't think he did, but that made me laugh. That was so funny. So then he says, he's sort of half making a joke and half being serious. He's like, well, I'm serving alcohol here, and I assume that means Danny's not allowed to come. And then he says that he thinks Danny's two-faced.
He has called me, no joke and not exaggeration, at least 5 times, screaming and yelling. And I've called her because your husband is drunk and can't even walk out of the bar. She comes in, Danny, I told you not to act like this. When you come to my bar and my business partners single-handedly have to pull me aside and saying, you know what, we are gonna get sued if he keeps doing what he's doing.
So he basically is just saying that Danny gets super, super drunk, starts acting belligerent, and then the next time he sees Jax face to face, he starts trying to be all nice and give him advice about his divorce and things like that. And then, this was really interesting to me, he also mentions that Danny has felt up girls at the bar before, at Jax's bar. And this is really interesting to me because all of the other people who are making accusations about Danny, all of the other people, I mean, it's really just Janet and Jason who are making accusations about Danny being drunk and belligerent and inappropriate around women. Like, Jax has no allegiance to Janet and Jason. And yet here he is making his his own accusations. Like, yeah, Danny is inappropriate when he's drunk and he has harassed women before. And it's interesting because he has no motivation to back up Janet and Jason. So I feel like this gives more credibility to the things that people say about Danny being an inappropriate drunk. Like, I understand like the words coming out of Jax's mouth are never trustworthy, but like, why would Jax throw another man under the bus if like there wasn't something there? Like, Jax hates women, but he loves guys. He yearns for guys' approval. That's like all he wants. So that was really interesting to me hearing that, is all I'm gonna say. And last thing, it's too bad that Jax is so untrustworthy among the group, because he could be the key to Danny's reckoning. But unfortunately, literally nobody is gonna believe what Jax has to say, because why would anybody of sound mind believe anything that Jax has to say about anything? So we're at Jesse's beach house in Malibu. He says that he thinks he and Michelle made a lot of progress in Hawaii. Here's the thing with Jesse and Michelle. They are still so obsessed with each other. Like, Michelle comes over in this dress and he goes, "Oh, you didn't have to get all dressed up just to come to my house." And Michelle goes, "I didn't. I have something after this." All of their interactions are so flirty, and like, even when they're having their nasty fights and they're calling each other names, there's something underneath it where I'm like, no, you guys are obsessed with each other. Like, they cannot stop thinking about each other. Like, I feel like everything they do it with the knowledge that the other person is going to see them. It's very like performative in a lot of ways. Michelle says she wants to be friends with Jesse, but she can't trust him because of the history of name calling, which is like, I mean, of course, like, yeah, if my husband called me a whore, I don't think I would be able to recover from that either. And she says he can't just apologize and pretend like it never happened. I totally agree. Like, I think the things that Jesse was saying to her were unforgivable, to be honest. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, you know, Jesse's real reckoning is gonna come when Isabella, their daughter, is older, like probably a lot older, maybe a teenager. And she's gonna watch this on TV one day. And she's gonna watch TV and see her dad calling her mom a whore and a cheater and a liar and all these things on national television. And not only that, but her friends at school are gonna see it. And it's gonna be so embarrassing for her. And she's gonna have to come home and ask her dad why he did those things. And I think that's when Jesse's reckoning is really gonna come. I think, I've said this before, like, in all of this, Jesse in many ways has not been thinking about Isabella, and that is one of the ways. He didn't stop to think that this is all being recorded and she's going to see this in school one day. Like, that's sad. Jesse starts crying and he says they were both trying to win and he's so tired. I definitely agree, they're both trying to win this divorce. And then Michelle asks if he thinks the divorce is her fault, and he says, no, the divorce is our fault. And then he says out loud, he goes, "I take accountability for the things I did to put pressure on our relationship." The switch up to me feels really, really sudden. Like, all of a sudden he's made amends with Aaron in Hawaii. Now he's coming back and crying and being like, I'm sorry about all this switch up. I don't know what happened off camera, like if he did ayahuasca again maybe, or what it was, or maybe he had another meeting with that life coach, but like, this switch up feels so sudden that it's giving me whiplash. I'm like, wait, like, I just 3 episodes ago you were calling her a whore and a liar and a cheater, and now all of a sudden we're getting to this. It's like, I'm not sure if I believe it's genuine, or if, I mean, I do think sometimes when you're in situations like this, like when you're really at war with somebody, I think sometimes you just wake up and you're tired. Tell me what you think in the comments, because I'm so curious. Tell me what you think about 2 things. Do you think that Jesse is being sincere here when he's crying and he's saying, I'm sorry and I take accountability? Do you think he's being sincere? And then also, are you seeing what I'm seeing, and do you think that Jesse and Michelle are still obsessed with each other in a way? Because I can't be the only one. Michelle then invites him to a Zen party that she's throwing at Yamashiro. And she says that she's so drained from the last year of her life and she needs a Zen party. And as soon as, it's like, you can't be on a Bravo TV show and say I'm hosting a Zen party. How many times has this backlash? Like, didn't this just happen on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills when, who was it? somebody threw like a poncho and diamonds party, or what am I talking about? At a restaurant in Beverly Hills. Do you know what I'm talking about? And everybody just started yelling at each other. Like, this happens all the time. Anytime somebody throws a party and is like, this is a peace party, like, it always ends up being a nightmare. Caftans and caviar, that's what I'm talking about, not ponchos and diamonds. It was a caftans and caviar party, and it was supposed to be like a night of peace, and it ended horribly. Kristen comes over to Brittany's house and she tells her about the last appointment at the fertility doctor when Luke got a clear bill of health. And then she's like crying, she's really emotional. And she says when they did her analysis, it came back that she could potentially be infertile and they prescribed her a lot of fertility drugs. And she says it made her feel old and like a statistic. I feel like I've said all there is to say about this topic. I mean, you know, God bless Kristen. We've talked about this a lot so far, and I definitely sympathize with her on this. Like, it looks like hell. That being said, it's so crazy to watch this knowing that, like, she probably gets pregnant a really short time after this because she had her baby, what, like a month ago, 2 months ago? And I think the Valley films every summer. So, yeah, it obviously makes me sad watching this, but I feel a little less sad knowing that, like, she had her happy, healthy baby. So good for her. I don't feel the need to talk about this anymore. We've talked about this so much. Benji and Zach go on a date. Apparently, Benji's divorce is being finalized on Zach's birthday, which is so funny. Honestly, it's like if I was the ex-husband, I'd be like, I would just feel some type of way about that. Like, your ex-husband is going to celebrate the finalization of your divorce on his new boyfriend's birthday. That's just funny to me. And then Benji says that his ex is the one who wanted the divorce, but he was still in love with him, so it was really hard. And he's like getting really emotional. This is honestly like the first time we've really heard Benji speak that much. And as he's like really getting into it and getting vulnerable, the waiter comes over and he goes, "Oh, here's your caviar," and he puts it on the table. That part was so real. I saw that and I was like, yeah, I feel that. The waiter always comes to the table when you are truly at your most emotionally vulnerable. When you're either going through like a mental breakdown and you're crying, or you're having like an angry tirade and you're like mid-sentence, like pointing your finger. That is always when the waiter is gonna come and ask if you need another drink. That was so good. So then they start talking about the Zen party, and Zach says that it's annoying that Brittany can't see what Janet is doing. And he says Janet's a liar and she escalates things that don't need to be escalated. And in order to move forward, they all need to sit down and talking about it. They're really like setting up a showdown at this party. Like, that was a very obvious like setup for, okay, things are gonna go down at the Zen party. Get ready. Speaking of, the Zen party has started. Jax is there, unfortunately. I don't know who invited him. I guess Michelle. I mean, it was probably Michelle because she knew that Jax would feel some type of way about it. And I honestly think that like she feels a little bitter about people not like showing up for her in her divorce with Jesse in the same way that they're showing up for Brittany. So I think she was like, F it, I'm gonna invite Jax. And also it's the season finale, they have to invite Jax. So then Jax pulls Brittany aside to talk and he says, "It's not drama, I promise." And then he tells her he had the guys over to the house and they gave him the idea to have a camera in the house so she can see Cruz's room. And Brittany says, "Well, maybe one day we can do that, but I don't want to relive the spying drama from when you were in rehab." And then he goes, "Well, no, of course not. I don't care what you do." What are you talking about? You were literally just telling the guys that you hope that, no, not that you hope, that you expect Brittany not to have a guy over to your house. And now you're sitting in front of her, you're saying like, "Oh, I don't care what you do. I promise I don't care." Literally what she does is the only thing that you think about. Jax brings up the alleged breadcrumbing that he talked about with the guys. He was like, I'm confused because one day you're calling me names and then the next day you're texting me pictures of the flowers that are growing in the front yard. And then Brittany was like, "Well, yeah, I did that. I texted you the pictures of those flowers because you tried to gaslight me into thinking that I couldn't handle that big house by myself." That's the thing with Brittany, is like, you need to stop letting this man get under your skin. This is exactly what he wants. This is exactly the type of thing he was trying to do by making that kind of comment. "Oh, you can't handle the house by yourself." Now Brittany is thinking, "Oh my God, he thinks I can't handle the house by myself. I have to show him that I can handle the house by myself." She's literally playing into his traps and it's so obvious. And then Jax goes, "Oh, no, it's not the house, it's the finances." As if the finance issue isn't his fault. Like, if you had just been paying the mortgage for the house like you were supposed to, Brittany wouldn't be struggling with the finances. And then Jax says that he thought he was doing the right thing by getting therapy and leaving Brittany alone to take care of the house. And then Brittany's like, I don't care about your condo. And then Jax goes, it's a townhouse. And she goes, what is wrong with you? I started laughing. I'm sorry, that's funny. Here's the thing is like, I support Jax being fired from the show. I think that was the right decision. But every now and then he creates a really funny moment. And that timing on like, it's a townhouse. And then her just going, what is wrong with you? That was so funny. I was laughing. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the only other person who can bring that kind of comedic sensibility is, unfortunately, Jesse. So then Brittany brings up the rage texting, and Jax goes, yeah, because you weren't letting me see my son. As if it's so crazy that a mother wouldn't want her autistic toddler son to visit a rehab. Like, she has spoken so many times about how Cruz has sensory issues, he gets overstimulated very easily, and you, as the father, think that a good place for a toddler like that to visit would be a mental health facility? Are you an idiot? Like, it really just goes to show how selfish he is. Like, why would you think that Cruz would have a decent experience visiting a place like that? And then he tells Brittany, I'm gonna wait until the last possible day to have a lawyer look at the divorce papers. And then Brittany asks why, and he goes, just because. And it was just such a disgusting, petulant child moment. It was so pathetic. And it was so satisfying when Brittany did her confessional and she said, you know, I was blind to it before. I was wearing rose-colored glasses, but now I can really see all the disgusting things about Jax. And I'm looking at his face and I'm seeing how greasy it is, and I'm seeing the veins popping out of his neck, and he's just so disgusting, and I can't believe I ever fell in love with him. And that was so good. That made me so happy. Oh my God, that made me so happy. I was so happy for her because it felt so final. Like, it felt like, okay, this time she means it. Like, I really think she's not going back. And that was so good to see. And then she calls him a narcissist and he gets up and he leaves, because anytime somebody is trying to dish out what he's giving to them, he gets up and he leaves. And that's just the way Jax operates. Nia goes up to Janet at the bar. She apologizes for what happened on the boat. And then Nia says in the confessional that what Jax said, wait, let me start that over. Nia goes up to Janet at the bar and she apologizes for what happened on the boat in Hawaii. And then Nia says in the confessional, she goes, you know, what Janet said was unforgivable. And I was watching that and I was like, okay, but Danny being a sex pest is forgivable. You know what I mean? Like, Danny being a sex pest is confirmed. Like, you know that he went up to Jasmine and Melissa and he was completely sexually inappropriate with them. So it's like, that's forgivable. But then Janet calling it out for what it is, that's unforgivable. That just a complete double standard there that I was really not buying. We move away from them, and then Jesse is telling Kristen about the strides that he's trying to make with Michelle. And then he starts crying again. I mean, he really is going through something. I think he must have seen that life coach off camera, because he really is like breaking down. And I will say, I do feel like we're finally seeing how he truly feels about all of this, as opposed to like in the Santa Barbara trip where he was constantly berating Michelle, trying to get her to say out loud, like, say that I'm happy. Don't you think I'm happy? Say that I'm happy. I feel like this is like, okay, that wall is finally breaking down and we're really seeing him for what he's actually feeling right now. Then Jax starts telling Luke and Jason about how Ted Bundy and Dahmer were charming guys, and that's how Danny is fooling people too. And Brittany is so disturbed by this. She's like overhearing this. She's like, you know, Jax is more like them than Danny is. And listen, as much as I don't like Danny, it's like, yeah, if I heard my psycho ex-husband who literally hurt me with a coffee table start talking about how Ted Bundy and Dahmer were charming, like if that's what I was overhearing him talk about, I would fear for my life. It's like, that's true. Like, Bundy and Dahmer were charming. It's like well documented. That's how they got their victims. But like, I do not want to hear those names coming out of Jax's mouth, because I'm like, no, like, what are you planning? Like, I don't want to hear you talk about that. Honestly, this is the part I was talking about in the beginning. This is the part that I said that I didn't like with Jax making some good points. I'm kind of living for Jax calling Danny out. I'm sorry, I'm living for it. So he tells Jesse that Danny isn't holding a drink right now because he's putting on a show, which is 100% right, 100% right, because Nia definitely told him not to drink tonight. Then Jax asks Danny what's been going on. They're kind of trying to say hi to each other. Super, super awkward. Danny says that he knows Jax had the guys over a few times this week and that he didn't invite him. And then Jax tells Danny that he's a terrible drunk. And then Danny goes, no, I'm not, you are. Here's the fun part, you guys both are. And then Jax tells Danny, he's like, you were kicked out of my bar for harassing women. And Danny goes, well, not twice, only once, and I dealt with that. Not really the comeback that you think it is. Like, no, I wasn't kicked out of your bar for sexually harassing women twice. I was kicked out for sexually harassing women once. Like, oh, sorry about that. No, I totally changed my mind. You're a good guy. No, you're totally a good guy. And it sucks. I hate that Jax is the one calling Danny out about this because nobody is going to give him credibility about this thing. That's the problem, is that like everybody is kind of already team Danny and Nia. And it's like now you have Jax coming for Danny and Nia. It's obviously only going to make people like them more. And then, of course, Nia, Danny's wife and also publicist, is listening to all of this in the corner and shaking her head disapprovingly. And then she comes over and she tells Jax, I almost hit you with my car when you were drunk and stumbling in the street. And here's the thing about Nia. I don't know why her argument is always like, well, you've been a messy drunk too, as if multiple people in this group can't be alcoholics. Kristen was an alcoholic when she was on Vanderpump Rules. Like, all of these people have either no alcoholics or are alcoholics themselves. I'm not sure why Nia thinks that it cancels out if like Jax is an alcoholic too. That absolves Danny of everything. That's not how that works. Someone pulls Jax away, and then Danny, out of nowhere, he goes, he's a narcissist and a pathological liar, and he sleeps with his staff. I was like, whoa. I mean, here's the thing. Jax sleeping with his staff, like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. He was literally on Vanderpump Rules, which is a show where a bunch of staff members at the same restaurant sleep with each other. So it wouldn't surprise me that he wouldn't realize that, like, the boss is not supposed to sleep with the employee. Like, I'm sure he doesn't know that because he's an idiot. And then Jax immediately goes to the bar and orders a vodka on the rocks. And this is really like, this is where it all starts to go down. We're pretty much on like high octane all the way to the end. Nia tells Danny, she goes, that was on camera. That was on camera. She's like, that was on camera. That was on camera. And then Danny goes, I know. There's a camera over here. There's a camera over here. There's a camera over here. Like, it's really like, I don't know. Their relationship is so dark to me. It's so dark. It's all about appearances and it's all about looking perfect. Like, I'm sorry, Jax is right about that. It is all about looking perfect for them. And it's just all about like the pageantry and the like, no, isn't my life so perfect? And I love God and I'm a Christian. And no, my husband doesn't have an inappropriate relationship with alcohol. He's just a tired dad, like 4 under 4. It's so dark to me. Comment what you think about Danny and Nia's relationship, because I'm seeing a lot of stans online and it's really confusing me because first of all, why are we standing somebody who like sexually harassed 2 of his friends? And then also like, I just don't know how you watch 2 seasons of them now and don't understand that everything they do is for the cameras. Like everything they do is passed through a filter and it's so clear that like they're not being their authentic selves. And when Danny is being his authentic self, which is kind of a pig, Nia really doesn't like it and she moves forward to shut it down immediately and she starts doing like damage control, putting out fires. Like that's so obvious to me. I don't know how some people don't see it, but yeah, leave it in the comments. What do you think about Danny and Nia? Are you team Danny and Nia or are you not buying what they're selling? So then they do a 4-way split screen of everybody who is fighting at this party. This is the least zen party anybody has ever had. Sheena calls out Zach for telling people she's the one who brought Jenna around to hurt Michelle. I cannot believe we're still talking about Jenna. We haven't even seen Jenna in like 6 episodes. We've only seen her twice this season, but she's really been like a looming presence. Then Kristen comes over and tells Sheena that she and Janet accused Kristen of doing that at El Coyote. So Sheena and Janet accused Kristen of bringing Jenna around to hurt Michelle at El Coyote. And that was one of the things that spawned the huge fight between them. Janet walks by, hears them mention her name, and then starts to walk away. And then Zach says that Jenna hasn't been coming around with any agenda. It's just that Janet is trying to destroy everybody's reputation. And then here we go. Zach is really on one tonight. I normally like him, but like he went too far for me tonight. Like I really was not enjoying watching him at this party. He then goes over to Brittany unprompted and then tells Brittany that Janet is just like Jax, which is crazy. And then he goes, "Are you under the same spell with her that you were under with Jax?" And I was watching that and I was like, Zach, like, that is crazy. Like, Janet's big thing is just that she's pretty annoying. Like, she's high strung, she's annoying, she's uptight. Like, I think, what's her name? Jasmine called it out best when she was just like, yeah, you're a vibe killer. That is Janet. She's a vibe killer. That's like her worst crime. To compare her to Jax, an abuser, is not, like, I was watching that and I was like, Zach, that is too far. Like, that's crazy. Then Michelle tries to get Kristen to apologize to Janet for calling her a whore and saying that she wants to beat her up. And then Kristen goes, "Oh, that's all I said? That's really nice." And then she tells Janet, she's like, "Oh, you know me. I say colorful shit when I'm upset." That's not an apology. Like, here's the thing. You're running around, you're saying like Janet escalates stuff that doesn't need to be escalated. Now here you are, Kristen and Zach are both escalating the situation that really did not need to be escalated. And then Janet rightfully compares her to Jax. And she goes, you know, that's the same kind of manipulative stuff he does. Like, he does all of this awful stuff. And then he goes, what? It's not my fault. That's just what I'm like. I don't know. That was a pretty good comparison. But then, of course, between Kristen and Jax, that's where the comparisons start and end. Then Janet tells Kristen, the things that you've done have hurt me. And then Kristen says, well, the things that you did last summer hurt me. And I'm watching this and I'm like, oh my God, that's what this is all about? What happened last summer? If you don't remember what happened last summer, and I mean, how could you not? It's basically the basis of the entire plot of The Valley at this point. Janet is saying that, or no, I'm gonna start that over. If you're unfamiliar with what happened last summer, which I mean, how could you be? It's pretty much the basis of the plot of The Valley at this point. Janet last summer said that Kristen is the one who accused her of calling Michelle a racist because Michelle is a registered Republican. That's what happened last summer. Honestly, if I was Janet, I would just leave the show at this point. That's the thing, is that like, people give her more shit than they give Jax. And that is the major crime of this show. And that is why I do not take these people seriously. If you hate Janet more than you hate Jax, there is something seriously wrong with you. And the fact that Janet is somehow the villain of this show and Jax just gets to walk around free is like, that is crazy to me. If I was her, I would just leave. Like, you have no one in your corner. Everybody's coming for you online. Like, you're getting more shit than a literal verbal abuser and somebody who stalks his own wife. Like, it's time for you to go, honestly. And then I really didn't like this. Janet and Jason leave, and literally, like, after they're practically gone, Zach calls out, "Bye, whore." And I was like, ew, like, that was so fucking disgusting. And like, it was such a good example about how like a lot, like, sometimes with gay men, like, you see them exhibit misogyny too. And that was just such an example of like misogyny in the gay male community. Like, why do you think that's okay for you to say? But like, if one of the other, like, when Jesse calls Michelle that, you're the one calling out and being like, whoa, don't talk to her like that. That's not okay. But then you get to say that to Janet. Like, I really didn't like that. I thought that was so ugly. Then Jason comes back and calls Zach blackout drunk and goes, sorry, I can't tell where you're looking. Your eyes are pointing in two different directions. And that really gets Zach. He starts like crying. That like really, really upset him. And it's like, listen, I'm sorry. Like, I know I call Jason whipped all the time. And here's the thing is he is kind of whipped, but good for him for coming back and defending his wife, because that was not okay. That was really, really disgusting for Zach to say that. So then Janet and Jason are gone. Zach is crying. I mean, he is drunk. He is like blackout drunk. And he tells Brittany, like, sometimes I need your help. He's crying. He's yelling. He's saying like, nobody understands my feelings. Like he's really like crying and yelling so loudly.
Just chill.
Sometimes I need support
It's
too.
fine, of
No, but
course.
you don't understand. Like, sometimes, Brittany, I need your help.
Of course.
That's all I want.
And then at that exact moment, fireworks start going off. I don't know who is setting off these fireworks. LA has very strict fireworks ordinances. That must mean that Michelle paid for these fireworks. She does say at one point, she's like, oh, these are my Zen fireworks. I thought she was joking, but I think she must have paid to have these fireworks go off because LA is really strict about fireworks. You can't just like do that. So then Luke tells Danny a single moment shouldn't define who a person is. And then Danny goes, that's what everybody is mad about, is a single moment. And it's like, well, not quite, Danny. Like, multiple people now have brought up multiple instances of you getting blackout drunk and pestering women. So I actually don't think it's a single instance that people are mad about. I think it's a pattern that people are mad about. Kristen tells Luke that karma is on her side and them getting engaged proves that. And that really was an omen. That really felt like an omen for some negative stuff to come because the episode just ends right after that. We don't even get like a housewife style like, oh, Nia and Danny are pregnant with their fourth child and, Kristen gave birth to a healthy baby. We don't get any of that. It's just, here's a preview for the reunion. And we're getting a 3-part reunion. Thank God. Because if you don't remember season 1, we didn't even get one. I think this reunion is going to be so good. We have so many things to talk about. Michelle and Jesse, Zach and Janet, Zach and Brittany and Jax. We have so many things to go over. I think it's going to be so good. Leave a comment below. What is one question you want answered by the reunion? Who is one person you want to be called out? Who is one person you need to see answer for their crimes? Like, what are the things that you are looking forward to the most? Because I can't wait. And that's it. That's The Valley season 2. It was honestly a really good season. I don't know why some people were complaining about it. I loved it. I think this show is one of Bravo's best right now. It's very, very haunting. I'm not going to lie. A lot of people say they can't watch the show because it's too depressing. And it's like, I kind of get it because you're basically watching like what happens when marriage and kids doesn't work out for people. And like for a lot of people, that's their biggest ambition in life. They want to get married and have kids. And I think this really shows like the dark side of that. And so I understand why people have a hard time watching. But that's it for me. That's it for The Valley season 2. Keep an eye out in the next couple days. I'm going to have my recap of the latest episode of The Real Housewives of Miami. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to check back next week when I'm going to be talking about the Valley reunion as well. And I will see you next time.